Next story I have for you is about love. Okay. Now, usually when I go out and do storytelling with area schools and communities, I have the children up there with me, and they get to be the bear, the wolf, and the panther. But sometimes I pair them up and says they have to fall in love with each other. And it's usually funny for all the other children sitting in the audience. They'll laugh at the young boy or girl sitting up in front of there with me. But here's your love story for today. At one time there was a man who was out there and he was crying in the woods. He was moaning and crying so loud. He was crying to the Creator. He was crying to the trees. He was crying so loud he finally heard a voice down by his feet say, "Why are you crying so loud? You wake me up. What are you doing?" The young man looks down and sees a mole looking at him. And the mole says, "You're up here moaning away. I can't hardly understand what you're saying and you keep waking me up." The young man sits down and says, "I'm in love, the most beautiful girl in the town and village, and I can't even talk to her. When I see her, my mind goes blank. Sometimes she sees me staring at her and I realize I'm staring at her and I can't look away and she just walks away. I think I make her scared. And then sometimes when she's not looking at me and I see her walking by and start walking towards her, I think, I'm going to talk to her today. I'm going to talk to her. And then I realize I can't and I'll bump into a tree." And so the mole says, "I've heard about this sickness that sometimes young men have when they fall in love with somebody. I tell you what, I have a potion." The young man says, "I don't want any potions. I've tried potions before. Some of the medicine men in the town and nearby villages have given me potions. Rubbed it in my hair, put it on side of me. Sometimes it smells. Sometimes bees chased me. And it doesn't work." The mole looks at him and says, "I tell you what, if you'll promise that you won't come by my house and cry anymore about this young girl you're in love with, I will give you the best love potion in the world. Just promise me you won't do that." So the young man says, "Okay, I'll keep my promise. I won't do that." And as they go off and start to go out into the woods, the mole's gathering things, and the young man's watching him. And the mole says, "Don't watch me too closely. I don't want anybody to have my secret. I don't want any of those medicine men to have my secret either. So look away every once in a while." Eventually the mole gets all his materials, goes back to his house and says, "I tell you what, we have to do this at night when it's really dark. So come back here when the moon's up high in the sky and everybody in the town and village is asleep. You come back here and pick me up. I've got to work on the potion." So that night, that young man's all excited. He comes back to that mole's house. And as the mole's sitting there working on his potions, he's got them all sitting in little gourds. He said, "Okay, pick me up. Take me to your town." And they walk into the town and village. Everybody's asleep. And as they get closer and closer, the mole says, "You have to take me near her house." And when they get beside that woman's house, the mole says, "Who lives in there?" The young man says, "She lives with her mother. And I've tried to talk to both of them, but I can't even talk to the mother either." And the mole says, "You have it bad, don't you? Okay, here we're going to do this. Take this potion and drink it." So the young man drinks it. And as he drinks it, he feels a little dizzy and a little woozy. And he sits there and looks at the mole and says, "Everything's growing around me. The trees are getting larger. The rocks you're getting large too. Look, you're the size of a bear now." The mole says, "No, you're shrinking. It's okay." And when the mole sits there and sees that the young man's gotten smaller and smaller, the mole says, "Okay, we'll stop right here. Quit drinking. Let me have another potion." And as the potion is sitting there and given to the mole sits there and he says, "I'm going to drink this one." And drinks it. Go, 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 go. And he says, "Let's go into the house." As they sneak into the house, the mole says, "I brought this pouch. I want you to hold it open for me. Okay? Just hold it open. That's your job. You stay right here. Hold it open." And the mole sits there and finishes his drink and looks at the young man and says, "Now, don't be afraid. Don't yell. Some strange things are going to happen. Just be quiet." And as the mole's sitting there talking to him, the young man looks at the mole and says, "You're starting to fade. You look like smoke." And the mole turns into smoke and goes up into the air. And the young man watches. And as the young woman's sitting there sleeping, the smoke, she breathes it into her and it disappears inside. The young man's sitting there watching. And after a little while, the young woman rolls over, opens her mouth, and when she breathes out, that smoke comes back out, floats back down, and lands in front of that young man. The young man's holding the pouch, and he watches as the mole shows back up. And when the mole shows back up, he's holding the beating heart from that girl. He sits there and he puts it in the pouch. The young man says, "What did you do?" And the mole says, "I brought you her heart. Okay, we're going to put this on a necklace. You're going to carry it around with you." And the young man says, "She's gone." He says, No, she's still asleep. It's my potion. It's my magic. Okay, her heart will be right next to yours. Tomorrow morning, she's going to try to find you. Come on, let's go." And so they go out of the house. And when they get back outside the house, the mole hands another potion. Says, "Here, drink this one." So the young man drinks it. He gets taller again. Picks up the mole, takes him back out into the woods, puts him back beside his house. The mole sister finishes fixing up the necklace, says, "Here, put this around. Do you feel it?" And inside that pouch, the young man can hear just And it's that young woman's heart. It's okay. Hold it right beside yours. You walk out the next day, she's going to try to find you. My job's done. You have the love of your life with you. Now please stop crying by my house. And so the mole goes home to go to bed. Young man wakes up the next morning kind of excited. He walks around the town and village, but he doesn't see the young woman and their mother. Finally, the mother comes walking out, and she says to her and says, "Daughter, what's wrong?" And that beautiful girl comes walking out, long, beautiful hair, chiseled face, and she says, "Mother, I feel strange. I feel like I'm missing a part of myself." And the mother says, "Well, that's bad. Let's go see the medicine man." As they start to walk towards the medicine man, the young man comes walking out towards her. And when that beautiful woman sees him, her eyes flash open. She says, "Mother, I know who I need. I need him." And she runs straight towards him. The mother is in shock, says, "Him? He can hardly talk to you. What do you want with him?" And so she grabs his arm and says, "This is the man I'm going to marry." That young man, his heart's beating so fast, he says, I found a love potion that works." And so everybody in the village watches as everybody gathers and they sit there and they see this young woman that nobody could get to marry them has chosen the shyest person in the town and village to marry. And so while they're sitting there, the medicine people are also watching this and thinking, where did he get this power? He bumps in the trees and trips over rocks when he sees her. And now look, she won't let go of him. She clings right next to him, follows him everywhere. Something's wrong here. So when they get married, the medicine people come forward and they bring gifts. And while they're sitting there talking, they happen to ask the young man, says, "How did you make this happen? We gave you our medicine." He says, "I know. I put it in my hair. The bees chased me. I put it on my skin. I smelled. But I finally found a love potion that works." And he said, "Well, where'd you get it?" I said, "From the mole. It's a love potion. It's inside this pouch. I'll keep her with me forever." And so the medicine people look at each other and says, "It's the mole. The mole has a love potion. Let's go find this love potion." So they go out into the woods. And all the other towns hear about this famous love potion. And so they know that love's important. So they said, if we can get this love potion from this mole, everybody will come to our town. And so they start to go find the mole. The mole hears about this and says, "Nope, I'm not giving it to anybody." Dives and crawls underneath the ground. And this day he stays under that ground because he knows everybody wants his love potion. So from time to time, he does try to peek himself out to see if anybody's still looking for him. Which is why every once in a while you're out there mowing your lawn or you go cutting your grass and you see moles out there. That mole's probably got that potion, trying to find out if somebody wants his love potion, because everybody needs love.